basically we are here, to give you the if any application given to you, then how you will start your Android penetration testing using these tools. Okay, so coming to the agenda, so as Mukul wisely said that we will be having around 7 episodes for this Android hacking. So in this particular episode, we will be covering about Android evaluation, and then we will be talking about the Android security history. And if I tell you about the Android part, then Android OS is the open source operating system, and if it is open source, then it is more visible to the hackers, right? And they can easily find out the bugs. So we will be talking about all these factors in this episode, and then we will covering about the Android architecture, then how the architecture looks like, and what all stages we have in this architecture, and what all components it will cover in this particular architecture, right? And then we will be covering about the security architecture, about the Android part, and then we will talk about the permission model. And going forward, we will be describing about how the application will be developed. That is the Android app development life cycle. So if you try to decompile the application, in the coming episodes, then you need to be first understand how the application is developed, right? So we will be covering how the application will be developed from the basics. So you need to write the Java code, and then you have to compile and decompile into text compiler, right? So Rinku will be covering all these sections in descriptive manner. And then we will be covering the Android application components. What all components will be used into the Android applications. So we will be covering all these. And once this part is covered, then we will cover about the setting up the security testing lab for Android. And once our lab setup completion, then we will start configuring the Bugsuit tool and the configuration, and then we will be talking about ADB. Moving to the next slide. Okay, so who am I? So let me share my video also. I hope I'm visible to everyone. So I'm Satish Verma. So I'm the information security researcher and working uh, in one of the US-based organization. So I have around 10 years of experience in the field of information security, especially into the web application, mobile thick clients, and network penetration testing. So along with that, I'm also doing some research on the IoT and IoT applications. So this about me. And I have completed CES CHFI. Currently, I am pursuing for the CISSP exam. So that's all about me. So I would like to hand over this particular session for few slides to Rinku Kumar. So who will be giving you some brief about the Android evaluation architecture, and how the application is developed, and I will be coming back to the session once the description of the Android application is covered by the Rinku. Rinku, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Satish, for about me. Uh, Hello, everyone, and good evening. This is Rinku. So, first of all, let me introduce myself. I am information security tech lead and security researcher, and I have 9 years of experience in penetration testing in web application, mobile application, thin client, source code review, and network vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. And during my penetration testing period, I have completed some certification, OSCP, OSCE, and CES. These are my short introduction. So let's move on the main topic. So Android evolution. So if we talk about Android evolution, first Android operating system has been launched on 27 September 2008 and version was 1.0 and API level support is 1. After that come Cupcake operating system and version was 1.5 and supported up to API level 3. And if we talk about currently, now currently Android 10 is running and version is 10, and it's launched last year, September 3rd, 2019, and it support API up to 29. So all API supported here 29. So during this evaluation, there are many changes in Android OS as well as in security. You can see on the next demonstration what changes has been done. So move to the next point. So Android security history. Here we have compared the time period. If you talk about year 2030, so we can say that Jelly Bean 4.1 has 50% more share, about 50% share of Jelly Bean 4.1. And if you move, if you move 2016, then we can see that Marshmallow 6.0 has been launched, and share was around 10%, 20, 15% around. And go after that 2018. Here you can see that Marshmallow operating system, Marshmallow version and 6.0, and is still running here, and share up to 25%. So here we can see that in Marshmallow come in 2016, still 25% devices has Marshmallow running. So it means more vulnerability has been there, because it is a long period of duration it's run, and yet 25% population is using Marshmallow. So move to the next slide. So next move to the Android architecture. So if we talk about Android is a open source operating system. It is exposed to all. You can reverse the source code, you can see the review the source code, and it's a first choice of developer and run on the Linux kernel. So here operating system is Android operating system is divided into basically 4 layers: Linux kernel layer, libraries, and application framework, and application. And if you talk about, here is 5 segments. In second layer you can see that Android runtime. In Android runtime there are 2 modules: core library and Dalvik virtual machine. So we can discuss one by one every layer. Linux kernel layer, if you talk about most of the operating system work like file management, process management, disk management, other drivers also exist: camera driver, USB driver, everything related to the operating system lies in Linux kernel level. And if you talk about go above library, that in library there are some modules there. That library are developed in the C or C++ languages. You can see their SSL library there to manage the SSL connection between 2 different devices. WebKit, for the WebKit module to use the web browser related. SQLite is used to as a database to store the information, and other things, OpenGL for graphics. And if we talk about Android runtime, there are core library. This maximum library related to the Java related library. That library can be used in the application development, just like input output library you can use here. And if you talk about Dalvik virtual machine, so in Dalvik virtual machine is a VMware that is compiled for the that is optimized environment. There is Dalvik execution is running in this Dalvik virtual machine. So go on the second application layer. application layer framework. Here are so many modules present. You can see the activity manager, notification manager, location manager. These are the high level services which can be used by application layer of application. And move up to application layer. Here you can see there are many application, pre-built application and customized application. You can see phone, browser. We can discuss all these things on the later slide.
Yes, yes, Rinku. So guys, as Rinku wisely said that, we have all these layers. So just wanted to little bit explain about the Android runtime. So when you get your application, right, in APK format, so your application is nothing but the Dalvik virtual bytecodes, and this Android runtime, right, this virtual machine will be used to convert this. Java files into the Dalvik bytecodes. So when we will talk about the decompilation of binary, you will understand that why we call this Dalvik virtual machine or Dalvik virtual bytecodes.
So here I already told you application layer. So application layer contains native application like contacts, camera, calculator, calendar, this type of pre-built, pre-installed application, and also contain the third-party software like Facebook, WhatsApp, Paytm, etc. So application layer contain the devices which user already installed or pre-built application. And most of the Android application is developed in Java language, and nowadays some application developed in the Kotlin. So here we will discuss about Java language related to Java. So in application framework, it provides the services that manage and control the application layer. Means it provides the services to the application layer application, and it includes following component. Activity manager manage the activity of the application. You might know the activity has different type of state: pause, start, destroy. This type of activity is managed by the activity manager. Let's talk about content provider. Content provider is an interface that can be used to access the stored data or file in the system. Suppose there is two applications wants to share the data between. So this sharing can be possible by the content provider. You can access the data using content resolver, and content resolver request the request to the content provider, and content provider provide you interface to access the data and files between the different components of the application or different applications. Telephonic manager, there is service manage all the voice related calls. Location manager manage location using GPS. And if you talk about view system is provide the interface to the application. You can use view system to create an interface into your application, user interface. Library layer, already told you, library layer is developed, maximum component is developed in C++, and there are many services, SQLite, Surface Manager, SSL, I already told you. That is a part of the library layer. And after that, go to the Android runtime. It includes Dalvik VM, which actually converted all the bytecode file, all bytecode into DEX format, Dalvik executable, convert to, and then run DEX file. And already told you Linux kernel we have already discussed, so no need description here. Here, application security architecture. So if you talk about the application security of Android security depend upon two layers of security. One is Linux security, another one is Android permission control model. So in Linux security, if you install any application, the application has different PID value and different user owner, application owner. So if you install two applications, so two application has different user and different process ID. You can see on the next slide. You can see that the user ID is last one, yeah, that is Diva. That user ID is AP_poll, and if you see the process ID is 22521. So here in different process ID, but if you talk about simple Linux server, if you are a user, suppose ABC, and you are installing any software, then user owner is ABC, and the process ID might be different, but the user owner is ABC. But in Android, if you install any application, so application has separate user owner, application owner, and PID. And after that, move on the Android based model. So Android based model, most important file in the Android package, it specifies the property of any Android app. Properties are declared by developer once compiled, cannot be added properties. So you can see on the user permission. If you see, can you highlight, Satish, user permission? Yeah, user permission. So in the time of installation, if there is permission, mention android.permission.write under external storage, then it means your application is able to access the external storage. If you mention down there android.permission.internet, then your application would be able to access the internet. If you do not define internet, then your application would not able to access the internet. If you define the permission like android.permission.contacts, so you are able to access the Android phone contacts. So you need to mention the permission whatever service you require there in the Android manifest file. This is Android manifest file. So every security you can mention in the Android manifest file. It's called Android manifest.xml file.
Yes, that's correct. So just wanted to give you a little bit about Android manifest file. So let's understand in this way. So when you maybe all of you have the Android device, right? When you install any application, right? So this application asks you to give you some permissions, right? When you install any Android application. So all these permissions are defined as any manifest.xml file from here. And once this is compiled, and you cannot edit or add any properties in this XML file.
Yeah, right. So now move to the Android app development cycle as told by Satish. Android application build process. So Android application is developed in the Java file, Java languages, and Java use the Java compiler to convert into class file. Class file is a bytes code that on the JVM environment, Java Virtual One environment. And for Android, you need to use DX tool to compile these bytecodes into DEX file format, means Dalvik executable file. This is optimized bytecodes that run on the Dalvik virtual machine. Then use the APK builder to build the APK file. In the APK file, there is source file, some system related SO file, some images file, some string.xml file, icon file. Everything is mentioned in the resource file. So you can use APK builder to build a APK file that contains all the required files, even the certificate of the application. After that, we use Java Signer to sign the application. So nobody can tamper this application. If someone tamper this application, then hash file would not match with the real hash. So here Java Signer is used to identify the owner of the application.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So guys, need to understand that how the application is built, because when we talk about the decompilation of binary, or when we will decompile the APK file, so you need to first understand how the application is built, then you will decompile it. So we focus on that part, what Rinku has explained, and you can, after this session, you can go into the Google and, try to search about how the application is developed, right? So that, you can easily, decompile the APK file.
Yeah, right. So here you can see the difference between JVM and DVM. So Java source code use the Java compiler to compile the code into bytes code, and that byte code run on the Java virtual machine. In the case of DVM, Dalvik Virtual Machine, Java source code compile using Java compiler, compile into Java bytecode, again use the DEX compiler, then compile into Dalvik executable bytecode, and then Dalvik executable run on the Dalvik VM. So here one compiler is Dalvik. So here Dalvik is used to optimize your bytes code. So your code is smoothly run, your application is smoothly run on the mobile devices. So Android application components. So here we discuss about Android application components. So here basically 4 components of the Android. First is activity, then services, broadcast receiver, content provider. These are the 4 components of the application. If we talk about application, these 4 components must be there, might be there, not must, might be there. Okay, might be some application that does not have any services, but these 4 components are necessary, might be necessary. So if you here we discuss what is the component and what is the work for component. If we talk about the activities, what is activities? Actually, activity represent a screen with a user interface, and in short, activity perform action on the screen. So activity is like if you open the Facebook application, there is a page come user interface with user interface login page. This is activity. If you log in, after login there is another page come, that is another activity. If you do some sending message, that is another activity. If you talk about generally financial app, if you log in, that is one activity. If you doing transaction, another activity. If you viewing history transaction, that is another activity. So these are the activities. After that, move on the services. For the activities, user interaction is required, and for services, there is a long time running services. Suppose you want to play music. So this music should be play on the background. So services might be run on the background, no need user interaction. So this called services. Just like you can say camera. Camera is a services. If your application want to open a camera, so here camera work as a activity, services. And another application also defines his own services to run on the long time. So services is a application component that runs in the background, which do not require user interaction, that always you can start services using the application. And third one is broadcast receiver. So broadcast receiver is used to receive any event. Suppose your mobile battery is low, so you can receive that event into your application. Yeah, even you want to send some event to the system, Android system, so you can use broadcast receiver to send the some event, yeah, or notification to the system. So broadcast here work for broadcast like that. And we discuss content provider. So content provider is just a interface object which can be used to access the file or information from the database. So you can call the content provider, and using that content provider you can access the data. suppose you want to sharing some data between two applications. So first you have to store that information into either file or database, and you have to provide the broadcast resolution, content resolution. That content resolution like a query, that query to content provider to store the information like insert operation there. And if another application want to share that information from the database, they use the content resolver using content provider and then access to the database and get the information. So here content provider is a main component of the application for the sharing the data between different application or same application. So intent is a part. Intent is just you can understand message. You can pass the message between two components or the two different components of the application. Suppose you want to start another activity. There is two activity A and activity B. So you want to start activity B. So you can use the intent object. Intent object is just a message. You have to write there, I have to start these classes for me, and this Android system is able to start that service, that activity for you. You can see here in the start an activity from the another activity. I define and using new value intent class. Use here intent class to create define here two things. One is host class, another is second activity dot class. Here are actually starting from first activity to second activity using the intent. I have write the message into intent and save into I variable. Then I call to the start activity function with my intent value. Then Android system will start by second activity from the first activity. So here intent is just a message, you write whatever you want to do. So intent resolution. So two type of intent. One is explicit intent. In explicit intent, target component is explicitly mentioned. You saw in the previous slide. There I have explicitly, go to previous slide. I have explicitly here mentioned second activity dot class. So I want to start this activity. So I here explicitly mention. So this is explicit intent. Go. And if you talk about implicit intent, do not mention the any target component. Here I no need to mention any target component. Android system must find the best component for you. Android system must compare the content of intent object to the intent filter. Android system what will do? This compare the component with the which is defined into the intent filter file. So we will see in the next slide what is intent filter. So here only three So here only three aspects are consulted: action, data, category into the intent filter file. We will see on the next slide. Yeah, intent filter. What is intent filter? To inform the system which implicit intent they can handle. Means intent filter is defined to provide a system to information which intent is best for the applications. Okay. In the next, activity, service and broadcast receiver can have more than intent filter. You can define more intent filter for activity, services and broadcast receiver. So in the intent filter are defined in application manifest. Actually intent file are defined in the Android manifest.xml configuration file. using the activity that can initiate application had filter with. You can see on the snapshot, down snapshot, there is a defined one intent filter. There is, can you highlight there? Yeah.
Yes, this one.
Yeah, here is a defined main activity. Main activity dot actually Java, that is defined on Jakar Asim dot diva dot, that is file main activity dot Java. And here intent filter, you can see intent filter elements define two things, two elements, action. Here intent filter message is main, means this activity is act as a main activity. And if you go to the down, there is category android.intent.category.launcher. This means this activity work as a launcher. If you click on the any application, then this is the first activity which will be run. That is main activity.java. So here you can also define implicitly intent filter, which activity is the first activity and which activity is a launcher, which activity is a main activity. You can define in the android manifest.xml.
Okay, yeah. So guys, just wanted to say something. We are using Diva application for our presentation, and this application is developed by Asim Jakar, who works in Pio2 company, and all credit goes to Asim Jakar for developing this vulnerable application. So this application is easily available into the internet, and when you are doing your testing or you're doing some sort of exploration for the application, you can download this application and use that. And all credit goes to the developer of the application. Yeah, thanks, Rinku. Okay, I think this is what about the Android evaluation, Android architecture, and what all components used into the Android application. So Rinku, nicely explained all these components, and we will be doing some part of exploitation using these activities or broadcast receiver in the coming sessions. So before that, we need to first understand about if you are working in any organization or you are doing your own research, how you will set up the lab for doing the Android penetration testing, right? So we have highlighted, there are 3 and 4 options from where you can, set up your lab and start working into the application. So if I talk about the option 1, so you can, there are, few tools which needs to require to download and then install in your laptop or in your system, right? So you need to first download the VirtualBox, which can be easily available from the virtualbox.org. And then we are using the emulators for performing the penetration testing of mobile applications here. And we are using Genymotion and Android Studio. So we will be frequently using these both tools for our presentation, right? So if you want to understand and download all these tools, just go to the genymotion.com and download the Genymotion and Android Studio. I will be talking about the Android Studio in my demo part coming. And Android Toimer, right? So Android Toimer is the virtual machine which has all the consolidated tools inside this. So this one is developed by the Anant Kumar, if I remember correctly. So all credit goes to him. And he has compiled all the tools which is required to perform the penetration testing for mobile application, especially for the Android part. So I don't think so, it has the latest version. So we are not using this right now. But if you have availability of this Android Tamer, you can use that this particular virtual VM for doing the penetration testing for mobile application, especially for the Android application. And if I talk about the ADB, so you can download the ADB from the developer android.com. This one is very important for doing the mobile testing for Android application, because it acts as an interface between your mobile emulator device to your operating system from where this uh, application is installed, right? So I will be talking about this ADB in coming slides. And Dex2Jar, yeah. So as explained in the architecture of application, that Android application is nothing but the Android Dalvik virtual bytes, right? So to decompile this actual Dalvik virtual bytes, we will use this Dex2Jar tool, so that we can compile into the jar file. And then how to open this jar file, right? So we will be using GDGUI tool for opening this particular jar file, so that we can try to understand the Java codes. APK tool also one of the decompilation tool which can extract the manifest.xml file, and it gives some of the codes, right? And burp suite, I hope you all are aware about the burp suite. It's freely available into the portsugar.net. And MobSF, right? MobSF is the the static analysis tool available for doing the static analysis for mobile application, which includes Android as well as the iOS applications. Okay, so we have the option 2. So if you all the tools which I described earlier are same, except the tamer one. So I am using here the Kali Linux. So if you are familiar with the Kali Linux, so you can install all the mentioned tool in Kali Linux and perform your activities for performing the Android pen testing. So the setup is same, which I explained in earlier slide. Only the difference is that you are using Kali Linux system for that. Apart from this, all other tools are same, and you can download all these tools from these links mentioned here. Okay, so option three. Sometime when I talk to people, so they said that I'm using um, the Windows system and I don't have the consolidated tools list. So for that, so one of the security researcher developed the API tools. You can download this API tool from manifestsecurity.com/API. So it has all the tools listed which is required for doing the penetration testing of your Android applications. Apart from this, all other tools are same. So you need to install the VirtualBox to set up the Genymotion as well as the Android Studio. So yeah, so if you are using the if you are using the Windows system, then you can use this one. But there are other tools available into the market right now. I'm just giving the options for that. Okay, so the setup which I am using right now is using the MacBook. So if you are using, if you have the MacBook system with you, so you can use these tools to install in your MacBook and try to exploit your Android application by using all these tools. Like you need to install the VirtualBox, Genymotion, Burpsuite, MobSF, ADB, Dex2Jar, GDGUI, APK tool. All these tools will be required for doing your complete mobile pen testing. Okay, so there are some advanced tools available like Droger. So Droger initially was developed by the MWR Labs, and then it was acquired by fsecure.com, labs.fsecure.com. Now they are handling all the Droger components. So Droger is also advanced tool which we can leverage to exploit your mobile applications. right? And MoveSF, I already explained about that. Frida. So Frida is, little bit the runtime, exploitation tool which is used during your mobile penetration testing in both versions. In both versions means you can use it for your iOS penetration testing as well as Android penetration testing. So Frida can also be used for um, doing some runtime manipulations, as well as if your application is SSL pinning enabled, right? So how you will disable the SSL pinning. So we will be using in our coming episodes that how we can use or bypass the SSL pinning, or if your application is you know root detected, right? So how we can bypass the root detection. So we will be using this particular tool for bypassing all these particular security features in your Android APK application. Okay, so coming to Android debug base. So as I already told that Android debug is an interface between your mobile application to your operating system where all the tools are installed. So it will act as an interface between your mobile and your mobile and your operating system. So there are some basic commands which we will be using throughout the session, right? Using this ADB, because if you want to install the application, if you want to uninstall the application, or if you want to you know uh, move into the cell of the Android OS, then you will be using the cell command for that. And if you want to push your file into your Android device, then you will be using the ADB push. And if you want to pull some files from your Android device to your system, then you will using pull. Then ADB logcat. ADB logcat is also one command which can be used to extract the client side logs of your Android device. So I think let's move into some okay, so let me check. Okay, so this is the burp suite setup and configuration. So before that, let me little bit move into the demo part of the ADB. So how it can be used, because for this particular setup, burp suite setup and configuration, we will be using the ADB tool for pushing your certificate to your Android device. Okay, let me minimize this and let me check if you are able to see my screen. So guys, if you are able to see my screen, so I opened one terminal, and if I check ADB and if enter, so that means ADB is working for this particular system. So if I go to the PDF part, yes. Okay. So if I go to the presentation part, so we are here trying to explain how you will set up your burp suite, and how you will install the burp certificate so that you can intercept the HTTPS request into your application, right? So there are two part into the burp suite configuration and setup. So before Android operating system version 7, so you can easily set up your burp suite configuration into your mobile device and intercept the HTTPS request, right? And after OS level greater than 7, right? So there are some tweaks needs to be applied so that you can intercept the HTTPS request. We will be talking about all these details in brief. Okay, so in this session, so let me go to that. Yeah. So, so before I move into the certificate installation, let me give you brief introduction about the Genymotion. So as I told you, you need to install the Genymotion tool, as well as the Android emulator, right? So I will be explaining you how you will install the Genymotion tool in your system. So you need to just install, you need to just go to into Google and uh, download the exe or the supported version for other operating system which we are working on. So just click on the install. Once you install the Genymotion, so all this frame will open into the Genymotion. And what you need to do, you need to just install the available templates, right? So if I go down, there are so many templates available for this Genymotion, right? So if you want to work on any API level or OS version, right? So you can select from here. Like if I want to work on the Google Nexus 7 and which operating system is 4.1 and API level is 16. So you can try to install from here, right? Just right click on this and just click on the install, and then it will get installed in your Genymotion interface, right? In the same way, you can try to choose what all API label you want to work on, and what all operating system, Android operating system you want to work on, right? So there are so many templates available, right? And for this particular demo session, so I have installed the Google Nexus, which is running on Android 6.0 and API level is 23. So what I will do, I will just start this particular emulator here, and it will take some time to open this particular virtual device. I think it's taking some time. So let's wait. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. So guys, when you click on the start, so this Genymotion virtual device will open, and it will act as an device. So in this particular emulator, you can install your application using ADB, and set up the certificate for burp, and try to intercept the request, HTTPS request. Let's give 1 or 2 more minutes to settle it down. So meanwhile, I can just open the burp suite. So you all aware, who are all not aware, who are new into the information security domain, this is the burp suite free version, community version, and you can download this particular burp suite tool, intercepting tool from portsugar.net, and you can configure your tool with your device. So meanwhile, this gets started. Let's move into that part. So how you can download the Android Studio, right? So uh, for Android Studio, you can also download from it Google. You can go into the developerandroid.com and just click on the download Android Studio. Once it get downloaded, you need to just install the Android Studio in your device, and once it is installed, so this particular application will be installed here, right? So what you need to do, you need to just click on the Android Studio, and guys, do not confuse into this particular both the emulators. So both are Android emulators, and you can use these emulators based on your need. Either you can use Genymotion, or either you can use Android Studio according to your need. So we are just explaining here how you can install the device according to your API label or operating system. Looks like something happened wrong, so it's not opening. Let me check here. It is running. Okay, no problem. So let me start this one. So for the sake of this particular presentation, I have downloaded a few of the Genymotion templates here. I'm just clicking on run, and thus it will get started. So when it gets started, you can see that it's saying the status that it is booting up. So once it boots up, then it will show all the installed applications inside your emulator. It looks like the same, what you are using. It looks like at the same as physical device. So one more thing, I would like to highlight here. So if you once it boots up, then we will start from there only. So I already explained about all the tools which can be used for setting up the penetration testing lab for Android applications. So there is one more virtual VM is available into the market, which is developed by Encipher team, which is called the MobileXer. So why it is completely different from all other virtual VM which are already available into the market, right? So MobileXer gives you the platform for doing the penetration testing for both the iOS as well as the Android. So from the same VM virtual machine, you can either test your Android application or iOS application. So in this virtual VM, all the tools are installed already. And if you want to install any other tools, there is the facility you can install the tool inside this MobileXer VM. So we will be talking about this MobileXer VM as well in our coming episodes. So how can you utilize this particular MobileXer VM for setting up your penetration testing lab? So you need to just install this MobileXer from the Encipher.com website, and just import this into your virtual VM. So meanwhile, it gets boot up. So we can switch into the Android Studio part, right? So as I told you that we can utilize either Android Studio or Genymotion for installing your application, right? So what you need to do, you need to just download this Android Studio and configure it, right? So how we will configure it? So if you will click on here, right? Here there is one section here, configure, and if you click on ABD Manager, so Android Virtual Device Manager. From here, you can create your own virtual device. So how you will create your own virtual device? So you need to just click on the virtual create virtual device, and it will open all the available the virtual devices which are available in this section. So based on your need or according to your application, you can just click on that and then uh, import. So I usually work on the Google Nexus. It looks like easier for me. So we need to just click on the Google Nexus and just click on the next. And then in the next section, you will see that you can choose your API label on the Android version, right? Which version you want to work on. Like if I want to work on the Marshmallow, then you can select this particular API label 23 and then the Android version 6.0. If you want to on Nugget, and this is the API labels 25, and you can just click on that and then it will get open. So for the sake of this presentation, I'm just click on the Nugget and then click on the next. And based on your need, right? If your application is not allowing you to install in the older version of operating system, right? Like the Android 6.0, because nowadays, most of the applications, if you see, will not open in the Android 6.0, right? So you can select all your operating system which is supported by your application, and then install this particular emulator. So you need to just select this and click on next. And then here you need to give some ABD name. So I'm giving just pentest 2, and there are some setup. You need to change it. You can change it. Otherwise, you need to just click on the finish. Okay. Right. So once you click on the finish part, so now you can see this virtual device is added here. Now you have to click on the run, and it will start it, right? So, and once it gets started, it will launch your emulator here. So let's move into the Android virtual device for the Android Studio. So once uh, you run your virtual device, it looks like the same as your physical device. Now what you have to do, you have to just install your application here, right? So as I told you that ADB command is used for installing the uh, application in your virtual device. So my ADB is working. If I click on ADB devices, so it will show me all the devices which are currently attached in your system. So now my emulator is this one, 5554, and this one is device. So what you need to do? So you need to first basically understand about the ADB commands, because we will be using the ADB command throughout the session, right? So ADB can be used to install the application and uninstall the application. So if I talk about, because when we will push the bub certificate into your emulator, then we will be using the ADB command. So let me move into the folder where I have the application. CD desktop, and then I have Android workshop. So if I do ls, so I have the Seeb APK as well as divabeta.apk, right? If you go into your emulator, you can see no application is installed here, right? What you need to do, you need to just go to your folder where your APK is placed, and just run the ADB install divabeta.apk. Okay, more than one emulator, correct. Okay, let me close it, and then we will check. Success, right? So you can see, if I perform this particular command, so your application will be installed in your device, and you can see this Diva Beta is installed in your virtual device, right? And it has all the vulnerable parameters which we'll be using in your coming session. So now the question is, if I talk about the configuration part for installing the bub certificate, right? So where is my PDF? Okay, this one. Okay. So now coming to the work suite setup configuration. So as I selected greater than the OS level is greater than 7.1, right? So how, let's first talk about OS level less than 7, right? So if I talk about OS level less than 7, so how we can install your certificate, Burp Suite certificate into your device. So there are two ways, right? One you can open the browser in your emulator and then configure your Burp proxy. Another way is you can configure your Burp within your local system and then try to download the Burp certificate in your system. And then what we will do, we will push this particular file into this emulator, right? So what I need to do, I need to just configure my proxy here. So for that, what I will do, I will just add one listener here. So as I'm working on into my local system, so what I will do, I will use the loopback only interface and then give the any port here, right? And this port is running. So what I will do, I will configure my Mozilla browser here, and this one is running into local host and then 8085. Perfect. So what I will do, I will just intercept the request here for this particular and try to download the Burp certificate. See, so if I click on the http/burp, so there is one link here coming, right? CA certificate. What you can do, you can just click on this CA certificate and then save this particular file in your local system. And this particular file is saved into DER format, right? So what we need to do, we need to just change this particular format into the CR format, right? Right. So what you need to do, so when you will download the Burp certificate, what will happen, it will download by default into DER format. So what you need to do, you need to just convert this DER format into .cer format, right? So we will check how we will convert this particular DER format into .cer format, and then we will check how we will push this particular file into our system, this emulator, right? So for that, I will be using this, and if I check on ls, then if I go to cer ls, right? So guys, I have one file here dot cer which I just downloaded. I explained how you can download this DER file from Portswigger, right? So you need to just convert this DER format. So I'm using move command. .cer format. So if I check here, now this file is converted into .cer format. So our next step is to push this particular file into your Android emulator. So how we will push? So as I told you, so we will be using the ADB command throughout the session. So what we will do, we will use ADB to push this particular file. ADB push, and then we will push this particular file into your SD card. Okay. Need to give the file name also. Someone is handling my system, I guess. CA, right? So what I'm doing, I'm just giving this particular name here and trying to push this particular file into MNT and SD card. And you can give the download as well here, right? I'm just giving the SD card. So see, this particular file is pushed into your emulator. So now next step is we have to go to the settings. Okay, where is settings? Yeah. So guys, if you have any question, then ask your questions and we can resolve here. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Satish, we have some questions in the chat window itself. The first
Okay.
question which I saw during the time when you were explaining the API thing, the question is, what is an API? What is the API level when it comes to Android? What API level were you talking about? I think
Okay.
Rinkuji was
Yeah.
explaining.
Yeah.
Actually, API level is set of function which is available for the developer to use. If you talk about API 21, so in API 21 some set of function are available. If you go higher level of API, then more set of function inbuilt function will be available.
Yeah. So API is directly involved into the operating system
Inbuilt function.
Yes,
Yeah.
security level system as well.
If you're going to develop the application, you need some inbuilt function to call it. So API level defines the sets of inbuilt functions which are using in the programming language.
Yeah, right. And also the same things are also available on Genymotion, because whatever Android version we were picking, I saw that it had the API level written alongside. So
Yes.
every API level corresponded to a set of a particular operating system of Android.
Yeah. If greater API, then you can assume more number of inbuilt functions are available supporting for the mobile application development.
Okay. I hope this answers your question, Himanshu. Rinkuji, we have another question for you. And that question is, when you were talking about that the mobile applications are developed in Java and Kotlin, uh, you didn't mention anything else. And the question was, what is about Kiwi framework or any other framework or any other language to be supported for mobile application development? Is there any? And if it is, then what are they?
Kotlin language is there.
Okay, yeah, Kotlin is highly used these days.
Yeah.
And if anyone is developing in Python, then Python has a framework named as
Yeah.
Kiwi, which
Yeah.
can be used for that.
Can be used for, yes.
Yes. And
Then there are other also, some frameworks are also available into the, like if I talk about the, Google's Flutter, right? If
yes,
anyone
right,
heard about
Flutter.
that. Yes. So this can also be leveraged to, develop the applications.
Okay. Another question we have is, could you possibly tell Firebase security or Firebase API key? I'm not able to understand the question, right? But if you are able to understand, so please come up with it, like Firebase API key.
Firebase API.
It is related to the Android.
Is it, yeah, is it related to Android? I don't know. I
I'm
mean,
not sure whether it is directly related to Android, but okay, rapid safeguard. You can unmute yourself and ask the question directly. There's no problem in that. That way we'll be clear of the question.
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, this is Rapid Safeguard.
Okay.
Yeah, Puneet.
Yeah, so my question is regarding Firebase. Whenever we use the Firebase, when it's come to the show the JSON data, right? Database in the format in database.json. So is there any like file permission like user read, user write or something? from that we can give before the launching the application?
Talking about manifest file.
No, I believe he is talking about the Firebase ML, which is used to in order to match the certificate fingerprinting, if I am right.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that is about, I think that comes up onto how you are developing things, right?
Yes.
When you are developing at that time, how you are how you are matching the fingerprinting,
Okay.
how you are matching the certificate fingerprint, and how you are authenticating into the production environment. That is where you will need Firebase ML, and
Okay.
that is already a program which is written available. It is available in Java and Kotlin, and I think Kotlin provides it with KTX environment of Android. So therein, as to the development area, you can work on it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, and we have another question from Bhumika, and Bhumika is asking, can we test Kotlin based app same way as Java application?
Yeah, testing procedure is same in the mobile application VAPT. If the think about the testing perspective, that is same.
Yes. I think the testing procedure is same. It depends on what protocols they are using, right, for interacting with the web services. So if I talk about the dynamic part, right, definitely we can intercept the request and check if this protocol supports, right. If I talk about the system testing part, which requires to install this particular application in your system, right, definitely we can check in the routed device.
So logic is same. Only difference is the language and language.
Yes.
That's right.
And it totally depends on the protocol supports, right. Like if I talk about the web application part, right, it supports the HTTP, right, and we can intercept every request using all the intercepting tools. In the same way, you can use this process to intercept the request, as well as doing the system testing or the static analysis part.
Okay, we have another question from Himanshu. He says, what are the native apps we saw in your PPT, and what are hybrid mobile apps?
Native apps means which is pre-built installed application like contacts, camera. This is native apps.
And hybrid?
So he's talking about more or less towards Java based development, Android Studio development, or this Angular JS and other the modern applications which are built once and deployed on iOS and Android both, or you can deploy them on Fire Sticks or Android this Amazon Stick devices and other devices. So those are hybrids. So the natives ones which will be directly developed with your this Android Studio and its setup, these applications will be considered as the natives one.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope it answers your question, Himanshu. We have another one from Shamya. It says, why a rooted device is required for pen testing? During static analysis, if the vulnerabilities are found in third party, what can be done? Like HTTP is used by third party library.
Yeah, there is a problem because first let me answer the why rooted device is required required for pen testing. So rooted device provide the more more test cases. Provide the more test cases. You can test the everything there. More test cases are available because of rooted. Suppose in other perspective, suppose you are working on the application and your device is stolen. Okay, and before the routing some information is accessible, and after routing might be some more information is accessible by the attacker. So if we root the devices, then we can see that how much information can be retrieved by the attacker or malicious user.
Yes. That's correct. If we elaborate little bit more, like, if you are using any, financial application in your device, and you have entered, credit card information and all things, right? And if this device stores all these information, the credit card information or any PII data in your mobile device, and if your device gets stolen, and if it is jailbroken, then any attacker can, get all these information which is stored inside this particular physical device, right? So that's why no jailbroken device is required to access all your system level. Someone is, yeah, I hope this
Yeah,
clears the answer.
it's clear
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Another question we have from Bhumika. Uh, MobeSF doesn't work for Kotlin. What are other tools apart from to test apps apart from Java?
Which one? Can you repeat it? I mean, there was a noise from background.
MobeSF doesn't work for Kotlin. What are other tools we can use?
Okay. So there are some other, decompilation tools available. So which we can, share information about this decompilation process when we will talk about the decompilation of binary, right? So there are some tools available which can be leveraged to perform the static analysis. If MobeSF is not supporting the Kotlin, then it's fine. So we can use other tools for that. But this will be, described in our coming sessions when we will talk about the decompilation of binary.
Okay, Bhumika. I hope we have to wait for another session for the decompilation of apps. Okay, so that's it, what I can see in the group chat window. If anyone else has got any question, then we still have 2 minutes and we can take up the question. Okay, seems like there are no more questions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think,
okay,
thank
Shamya
you.
has got
Okay.
for second part of my question. Shamya, I think I have unmuted you, so you can ask the question. Okay, Shamya doesn't have the mic. Mithal Mehta, please mention the tools of testing.
Okay, testing. I think we have already covered this section, which all tools required for performing the testing. So if I go here, this one. So testing loop lab setup, right? So I have explained every tools here, right? Which all tools required for doing the pen testing of your mobile applications. All these tools are available. I hope this clear the answer.
Okay. What will happen if the vulnerabilities are found in third-party libraries? Are they shown in the report?
Yes.
Yes, it all depends on the scope, I believe.
Yes.
No, you have to show the report because it totally depends upon the your application security too. So you have to highlight this vulnerability.
Okay. Difference between setup 1 and 2?
Okay.
This is
Okay. So
strange.
I already told, right? So I'm using Kali Linux here, and in the first setup I am using Tamer only. So only the difference is that because of the virtual VM. All rest of the tools are same.
Okay. So Mithal Mehta says how to write mobile VAPT report. Mehta ji, for
Oh,
writing a mobile VAPT report, I think we'll have to stick on to the last session.
yes, that's correct. That's correct. And not only writing the VAPT report, right? So you need to understand, this session is you can leverage for doing the bug bounty programs as well, right? What we are explaining here, you can use this, to leverage your capabilities to find out the vulnerabilities in topmost mobile applications and find and get the bounties from there. We will
Okay,
coming to that session. Yeah.
yeah, I guess we can wrap up this session for now.
Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
guys for joining. And
Thank you all
yeah.
of you guys for joining.